On Watch YouTube, we spend an awful lot of time talking luxury watches, and that's for a few different reasons. First, you guys seem to love it. Even though you might not be buying these watches all the time, you want to see them, learn about them, and enjoy them. But whenever I do the odd affordable watches video, it'll get a little bit silly. So in a move I'm sure the YouTube algorithm will actually end up hating, let's put the two together and talk surprisingly affordable luxury watches. Yes, that's right. I'm going off-piste and doing a listicle. These are 10 pieces that'll make you think, really? Only that much? Let's get into them. But first, what are the criteria to have made this list? Well, first, I think to be a luxury watch, you need a little bit of spice to the brand. So some history or a mystique to add some gravitas to your wrist. Now, you need a quality feel and look that impresses you specifically. And last, a price that when you combine this feeling and air of luxury makes your jaw drop a little and leaves you descending into the depths of eBay. 1. The Neo Vintage Seamaster. Okay, so this is a watch that I think is coming back in vogue at the moment, with a few YouTubers and watch personalities both buying and mentioning them. The early Omega Seamaster Diver 300-meter professional, so the 254180 in its quartz guise and the 253180 in its automatic guise, the watch we saw on the wrist of Pierce Brosnan in 1995's GoldenEye, is a bit of a gem in the watch world, and one that I seem to come back to time and time again. Now that might be because certain YouTubers keep buying it, or simply because it is an incredibly compelling proposition. A neo-vintage diver with a luxury name on it and a recognisable, potentially now even iconic design, with pricing as low as £1,500. Any list of surprisingly affordable luxury watches would be remiss to not feature this one. The old Seamaster has an added benefit as well. That's the 36mm variant, the reference 256180. Now, that might sound small today, even the Black Bay 54 is a 37mm watch. But this one, with its helium escape valve, does wear that little bit bigger. Now you might discount the quartz model, but I would beg you to reconsider. The Omega 1538 is built on the ETA 255461, a hardy enough character as far as I can tell. And as a neo-vintage quartz Omega owner, I've always enjoyed the pick-up-and-go factor that these watches facilitate. But we'll talk about this another time. Next up then, it is the Hamilton Khaki Field Murph. Now this would not have made the list a few weeks ago, but I was at Concourse of Elegance at Hampton Court Palace a few weeks ago, and amongst the Lange and Rolex wearing audience, I noticed one Hamilton Khaki Field Murph, I believe the 38mm, and I thought that watch really does bat out of its league. This size is modest, sure, but there's enough of a shine on the polished case that when complemented by the cathedral hands and Arabic numerals creates a truly stunning watch. So it most certainly has that luxury aura that we're looking for today. Under £1,000 new, I don't think there's much else to rival this as far as automatic Swiss-made watches go. For the overall luxury feel though, may I suggest you get the leather version. It has a more dressy quality than the rather tool-like bracelet piece. 3. Used Credor. Right then, do you want to be different? Do you want a Patek but don't have a house on Lake Como? Is a Grand Seiko too mainstream for you? Then I need to introduce you to Credor, Seiko's ultra-luxury wing, and these watches are a particular favourite of mine. The range is pretty broad, and the real gems on the affordable side of things are still within the JDM scene, so you'll probably find yourself having to import one from Japan and paying a few extra taxes. But I genuinely do think it's worth it. If you're looking for something a little dainty, artsy and weird, this is where you must shop. Your modern Credor watches are damn expensive. The Credor Iki 2 is of course well over 30 grand, but the neo-vintage weird pieces are not quite so expensive. And in fact, we might even go so far as to call them cheap. I've long been a lover of the reference 6730-5330, a piece that I think is an ideal geezer watch for us Piaget lovers that are in the wrong tax bracket. These feature a lovely blue stone dial and can be had for under £200 or around $200. Yes, it's quartz, but for the money, it's incredibly cool and the closest I think you're going to get to a Patek Philippe Ellipse. But if that's not your particular cup of tea, there are many designs to choose from, some chunkier, some dressier, and some reminiscent of the Cartier Santos. 4. The Longines Hydroconquest. Next up then, another new option for you. The Hydroconquest of course gets headlines for its recent GMT version, and it is a great package, but the regular black or blue ETA-derived automatic watch is where I think the party is at. For £1,300, you get an automatic Swiss dive watch with 300 meters of water resistance. Now true, the bracelet does not taper, but then nor does the Seamaster at nearly £6,000. So I think we can excuse it. And while Longines might not have as strong a brand as Rolex, they do have a proper history with the oldest trademark in the Swiss watch world for their winged hourglass logo, an association with Amelia Earhart and a contribution to some of the earliest dual-time watches as well. They might not have the same brand punch as a comparably priced neo-vintage Seamaster does, but my argument is that anyone who doesn't appreciate Longines probably doesn't appreciate watches outside of a Rolex anyway. So what does it matter? Just get a Hydroconquest and be content with life. 5. The Vacheron Constantin Patrimony. Now, I bet you didn't see a Holy Trinity brand coming up on this list, but here we are. The Patrimony, I firmly believe, is the entry-level watch into Holy Trinity ownership, with prices starting for smaller 30 to 35mm models in the £2,500 to £3,000 region. These solid gold watches cost half that of any entry-level Patek Philippe Calatrava and get a lot more expensive than that. But you have plenty of choice under £5,000, which for a Holy Trinity brand, I do think is a big deal. See, and that's the surprisingly affordable part of these watches. Other than the fact this watch doesn't have the widespread cultural reverence that the Calatrava does, I just don't see how it falls short. These watches are, of course, all at the price point where they will qualify for authenticity guarantee on eBay, and you should, of course, remember to buy the seller and not the watch, as after all, these are manual wind pieces, which while as a positive enables the movements to be wafer thin, it does mean that, in my experience, at least you're more likely to encounter issues with the movement. But that being said, I doubt many Vacheron owners don't know when to stop winding their watch. But as far as surprisingly attainable Grail watches would go, this is where I would be spending my money. 6. The Speedmaster Reduced. Right then, another Omega. I'm not going to lie, it was quite hard to not fill this video with Omega after Omega. Their watches do not hold their value as well as I think they ought to, so that means there are some bargains to be had within their back catalogue especially. Yet, I think a particular gem in their catalogue is the Speedmaster Reduced, and that is for a few reasons. You get that little Moonwatch brand spice, but I think overall a much better livability. Coming in at 39mm, it's a little bit more manageable for those a little nearer to a 6-inch wrist than an 8-inch wrist, as it shaves 3mm off the size of the Speedmaster Professional, but retains the overall aesthetic of the piece. You lose the lume on the second hand if that matters to you, and the subdials are a little closer to the edge of the watch, giving it potentially a more crammed look. But I would argue the dial is a little more interesting. With Arabic numerals marking the seconds on the face, it has a bit more going on. And the Speedmaster Professional, I do think, can be a little like staring into a black hole, or perhaps even into space. There's just too much blankness going on. Not all Professionals are automatics. The reduced models always are, though. Now, you can't buy a new Speedmaster Reduced today. The original run lasted from 1988 to 2009. You can buy the different Speedmaster 38 from £5,000 on a strap and £5,300 on the bracelet, but I think this has less of the appeal of the original Speedy. So instead, I'd be looking towards a well-serviced Speedy Reduced from a decent dealer for between £2,000 and £3,000. You can go lower, and you can get manual wind Speedies for as little as £1,800, but I'd take the more modest case and automatic movement. It's a modular automatic, not an integrated one, sure, but I am a sucker for convenience, especially when I'm spending a sizable amount of money like this. 7 then, the Seiko Prospex Diver GMT. Can a Seiko ever be a luxury watch? This is a conversation for another time. However, I think the Seiko Prospex GMT certainly makes a case for the surprisingly affordable luxury Seiko. Now, at £1,400 or about $1,800, it might sound like a lot for just a Seiko. After all, surely the Seiko 5 GMT at less than a third of that price is pretty close, right? Wrong. See, at its core, the Prospex GMT has the 6R54 movement, meaning unlike the 4R34 movement, it has a fully independent hour hand. This is not a caller GMT, it is a full flyer. You also get a longer power reserve at 71 hours. Accuracy is still a little poor though, at negative 15 to positive 25 seconds a day, but Seiko for sure are taking steps forward. Now what else do you get? A sapphire crystal, some brushing on the case, an improved bracelet, and a steel bezel with a ceramic insert. That sounds like a pretty decent package to me, and when it comes to brand spice, Seiko are actually quite cool in an understated, reserved way. 8. The Baume and Mercier Riviera. When it comes to watches, I like to think about quiet confidence a lot, and to me, that spells out only one surprisingly affordable luxury watch, and that's the Baume and Mercier Riviera. And why? Well, Baume and Mercier are the entry-level brand within the Richemont group. So that's brands like Cartier, Lange, Vacheron, Constantin, IWC, Piaget, Jaeger-LeCoultre, and Roger Dubuis. Major hitters that haven't lost themselves to the mass production side of things like LVMH-owned brands have. And the Riviera is a perfect example of this. £2,675 gets you a 36mm model, and £3,600 the 39mm, both with the in-house Baumatic movement. The resale market on these is horrendous, quite frankly. The demand and hype just isn't there. But I think when you get one of these in your hands, you'll see why this watch is incredibly well priced. It feels sporty yet elegant, like an integrated bracelet watch should. It feels unique, not like an homage watch like many comparable or lesser priced integrated bracelet watches. And most importantly, it feels unique and bespoke. It's not from some sort of platform-based watch production. It has a comparable level of uniqueness and craft that the more expensive Richemont brands do. So yeah, we need some more Riviera love. The Oris Diver 65. Right then, a controversial one, the Diver 65. Now do note what I've not said, the Diver date. See, Oris of late have increased their prices, and I don't think have appropriately upgraded their offering. I know inflation has been a thing, but the £2,100 Oris Diver date does not represent the value that its predecessor once did. Coming in under £2,000 and regularly discounted, this was the Tudor Black Bay 58 for those that didn't want to save for so long. It was at a price where its Sellita SW200 movement felt justifiable, especially combined with a lovely retro faux riveted bracelet with a milled clasp and the overall retro skin diver look, but with modern production quality. So I'd say a mildly used Diver 65 is the way to go for your affordable luxury vintage diver. And these are regularly less than half what they cost new on eBay and Chrono24. Quite the saving, and bringing the offering in line with what many a microbrand would offer you. 10th then, the Grand Seiko Heritage SBGX 261. Now then, no surprisingly affordable list of luxury watches would be complete without a Grand Seiko. This is their whole spiel after all. Now I know everyone will say, buy a Snowflake, get Spring Drive, it is the best, but I think if you go to a dealer and try on an SBG X261, a modestly sized rival to a Rolex Oyster Perpetual at a third the price, you won't be putting yourself on any waitlist. This list is not complete by any means, so let me know what are your surprisingly affordable watch picks. Put them below. As ever, thanks for watching. If you like the video, do like the video. Subscribe if you want to see more of my work, and if you want to help me make more of these videos, do consider becoming a channel member. It helps me out that little bit. Till next time, bye-bye.